Hi, everyone. It's Melissa Reeves, the producer of Melanin Stories Matter, and we are here to meet and talk with the many wonderful storytellers that we have on our show, Melanin Stories Matter. And a couple Saturdays ago, we did a show that was focused on environmental racism because it's a thing and it's a huge topic. And we invite you to go to our YouTube channel so that you can take a look at some of the artists that we were featured and sharing very personal moments about what it's like to be a person of color in this world that isn't so fair about decisions and policies and living conditions. And we believe at Melanin Stories that we have to highlight and amplify these voices in order to encourage change and healing and acceptance and celebrate our diversity. So I am honored to have Mr. Viet Mai as one of our guests. So, hi.
Hello.
And we met on Clubhouse, and Viet is an incredible spoken word artist. And he does quite a bit of extensive work in social impact with his Clubhouse Room Like-Hearted project, which is where we met. And it was like instant admiration for his talent. And in fact, we might even be so lucky and blessed that a poem could be shared by you. Would you indulge us?
Yeah. I'm going to do this poem because it's a little reflective of where I'm at right now. And we talk more about that and unpack, what it's going on with this. I sit in the midst of many people, oblivious to the life around me. I'm surrounded, you see, but I'm bound by my own insecurities. So I seek security in my own comfort zone, but I've been known to feel alone when I'm not. I got this scared to be alone complex. Not that afraid of the dark boogeyman's gonna come complex, but more like that thousands around me, how come nobody's found me complex. You see, some say I'm afraid, others say I'm obsessed. I say, call it what you want. I just want a cure for this. Sometimes I get upset even with happiness, and sometimes I get stressed even when I'm at my best. And I even get stressed during times of rest. So when I'm resting from investing in the rest of the world, I wonder, what's the rest of the world investing in? And then it appears there's nothing interesting in me because it feels like no one's investing in me. And that's when I flee. I flee from me with hopes and dreams and finding me and someone else so that maybe someone else can fill me in completely. Because secretly, I don't even know why at times I feel empty. I got plenty of aspirations, a huge imagination, many tasks waiting, and to top it off, I got a fascination with nations other than my own. So why I feel alone? So once again, I'm confronted with the fact that maybe I just don't know how to be happy. But if you ask me, I'd say I'm happy with what I have, just not with what I haven't. I'm saddened by the lack of action in my life, so I take action and I find myself acting a lie, and this is where I hide. I hide in large crowds, loud places, many faces, and some familiar to me, but I feel peculiar to be in these kinds of settings because I find myself forgetting that I'm actually kind of a shy guy, which is then when I realize why at times I feel alone. Because even though I'm grown, I still haven't outgrown my own insecurities, which is why I seek security in my own comfort zone, despite feeling alone when I'm not.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah. Wow. And I know that that's reflective of how you've been feeling today. So before we started our conversation, you had an experience in one of the rooms, and
it was an experience about there are people who feel like they can be the gateway for who speaks and who's allowed to speak and share and who's not. People are using, their moderator badge privilege, right, to just send people to the audience if their message doesn't align with what's in the room. And then yet it's supposed to be an inclusive space, and we want to hear your thoughts and opinions. And the moment someone offers some passion, to say the least, and genuine. This is where this person is coming from. It's like we can't, we don't like your energy. We're gonna send you to the audience. But this is some real, like, people are really spilling what they feel about what needs to happen. The question on the floor was like, what can we do as AAPI and allies to get rid of racism? First of all, that's a tough question.
It's a big one. Yeah. Yeah, it's big. But it's great that it's being brought to the floor, though, right? It's awesome.
Yes. Which is why I entered the room, because it was AAPI and allies, right? And I get that. And then how do we tackle racism? Okay. But, to get rid of it, like, that was the specific question, right? So already I'm kind of like, okay, this is just a big think tank. I'm just trying to treat it like that. And yet, my experience has been that some people have this tendency to silence others, and I've been affected by it. And so there was someone in the room that was really triggering to me. And this is what causes me to be kind of estranged for my own heritage, right? So we are now celebrating Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, AAPI Heritage Month.
Right.
And I'm doing my best to lean into this for the first time. What I'm here to share is also, I just turned 40 years old, and I'm now just trying to explore this kind of public, like, okay, it's May, is AAPI Heritage Month. Yay, what are we going to do about it? And yet we live in this skin 365. It's similar to, when Black people are talking about we are Black all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So this whole, programming for a month to celebrate us is what I'm feeling some kind of way about AAPI heritage. However, as an artist, as an educator, I now see that there's an opportunity to use this kind of spotlight, I guess, if you will, to showcase what it is that the narratives, we have an opportunity to tell our narratives the way we want to tell it. And I think that's important. And that's why I thank you for having me and for having my fellow features on in the last Environmental Stories Matter to talk about environmental racism. I understand, environmental racism has a lot more also to do with ecology, right? Like climate change and stuff like that. But what I appreciated about being able to talk is to look at our own environmental conditions as people, as human constructs. Like, that's also an environment, right? And it does affect the way we operate and move in this world. So the poem I shared was this idea that people can feel so alone in this world. And when people are claiming to give open space and honest and what they call safe space and inclusive space, but yet these behaviors of silencing and sending people to the audience, or basically, the woman came back with her profile that said support South Asian voices, but move them to the audience. Right, like, but also move them to the audience.
He fanned a flame.
Yeah,
by doing that.
She put that as a note on her image, and I saw that, and then I had they passed me the mic to give some closing words, and when I saw that and that someone had brought her back up on stage, I said, this is a signal here. This is I can't talk when I'm seeing this, so let me address it. I don't want this woman to feel like she's not included, and I stepped out because the person who had triggered me in the past, I just could not stand to hear him speak anymore. So I left the room and waited for someone to ping me back, or I just continued to periodically what I'm here to talk about right now in all of this is the self-care part.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the work that we as individuals feel like we're passionate and we need to do. I'm not here to really push my agenda per se. I'm just trying to acknowledge that even in me trying to celebrate myself and what my community is, I don't even know what that word means anymore, community. Because when we say my community, that automatically means you're not a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's
And
the human community, but we're working on getting along
yeah,
better.
so, I found myself saying something like, it's I look at it more like a village, and when I say my community, I think more of my village, because now I can say, okay, there are certain figures in my life that fulfill certain roles, and there are key people that I would know to tag and go to if I'm having a specific challenge, or if I want to bring someone else to the table and something that I'm working on. That's my village, meaning we're going to protect each other, right?
Yeah.
When we say it takes a village to raise a child,
Mm-hmm.
I work with the organization called Village of Promise. Like, I've adopted this village concept, this village way of being as
Mm-hmm.
best as I can, just so I can feel less invisible in this world. And I will tell you, I feel invisible in this world often. But I got out of that thinking, and I challenged that thinking just because I know there are people who love me. And those are the ones who are in my village who continuously show up.
Yeah. So your village is a variety of people. It's not necessarily AAPI. It's the souls of the people that you can rely on.
Exact. And that's
Yeah. Right on.
like-heartedness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what the like-hearted
Pleasure.
concept is about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, that word just resonated when it came out in my conversation as a stream of thought.
Mm-hmm.
And when I said that word, everyone at the table was like, ooh, he said like-hearted, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I knew I had something. And this was about a week before I officially, we had our orientation for grad school. This was 2017, and it was a week before our orientation. This was a casual student organized through Facebook. Hey, let's meet up before we start school. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in San Diego already. I'm born and raised, and so a lot of people were coming in from out of the city, and I'm honored. I was just kind of like, cool, welcome to my town, right? Welcome to my hood.
It's good
So I
hood.
was,
I lived there too.
yeah. So it was really cool, and now I'm reminded I need to reach out to some of my grad school colleagues, and we study social innovation. That was our degree. And so we were the
Wow.
first cohort to for that campus, right? For the University of San Diego, Kroc School of Peace Studies. They had just opened up that program in 2017, and we were the first cohort for that program. So,
What a beautiful campus to be doing something like that on too. Wow. US State?
yeah.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
Oh yeah, we were voted like most gorgeous campus. I don't know in what periodical, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it just sits up there on that hill and it just overlooks the ocean. And it's just like, ah, I went to
Yeah.
Michigan, nice school too, but yeah, you guys win. You win. And then say your degree again. What was the program? Social impact?
Masters in social innovation. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So let's talk about the Village of Promise. Talk about that organization that you work with.
Sure. Village of Promise is a nonprofit. It was founded the program itself launched in 2009, March of 2009. So we're in our 12th year now.
Wow.
I'm sorry, we're in our 12th year, but we just finished our 11th year.
Okay.
And I was brought on board by the board. And the board had actually been, so the Village of Promise Health Outreach is the official kind of title of the nonprofit. The collective mentoring program is the program that I work with, that works with children of incarcerated parents. But we just recently expanded that to children impacted by incarceration, whether they have, you know, a parent in prison or a brother and sister or cousin, uncle, right? Or aunt. And we found that, you know, incarcerate, you know, a family member in prison is just still, you know, as impactful as having a parent, especially if they're close to that, you know, that relative. And the board had actually done a project to tackle, I want to say, mental health within the community, and we're talking specifically about the southeastern region, southeastern San Diego, or more commonly known as Southeast San Diego. I smile because there's political debates about what to call that region. And
is that like La Mesa, that area?
It's more like Skyline, Lincoln Park. It's the 92114 area code.
Okay.
Specifically. And this is kind of Lincoln High School. Where else? Morse High School. So what they did, because these are working and retired professionals as an ad hoc board, educators, nurse, we have a doctor, a pediatrician who's Dr. Fred. He's the chair. Arlene Smith, she used to work with the DA's office. She's now retired. VOPsandiego.org is the website, and you can learn a little bit about our structure.
Yeah.
They did a survey to the community, and they were dealing, you know, they were addressing the mental health in the area. They got a grant from the California Endowment to kind of do some programming with that. This was beyond my time. And then a couple of years later, they said, we want to do another program, or we want to do another, you know, initiative. And they surveyed the community again. So literally door knocking and, you know, asking the community what they wanted. And what was uncovered is the community said, we want more for our kids. And when I heard that, I'm just like, of course, right? Like, that's kind of where I'm thinking. It's like, what's next for the new generation? Right. And if we're not thinking that way, then ultimately we're digging our own graves, right? As human beings, because we're not thinking about our future generations. So when they did more research about what do we need for our kids, they uncovered this population of children of incarcerated parents. And they found that over, I want to say, you know, 25,000 children just in San Diego County alone have parents in prison.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of them come from that neighborhood.
Think about that number. You know, we can just toss out 25,000, but really think about that number. Think about 10, 20, 30 people, you know, and then you get 100, 200. It's just, that is a very large number.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm kind of looking up real quick. But yeah, so because we recognize, because there's a couple, I mean, you kind of have to just trace the pipeline, right? You're gonna have to just trace the conversation. We want more for our kids. Boom. Okay. So what's going on with their kids? All right. Well, let's say it's education. Okay. The achievement gap. What's going on? Why are there not more graduates, or why are there not more children going to higher education? Why, you know, all these different things. And then you look at, okay, well, what's going on? Well, you know, police activity, gangs. Okay, what's gangs? Okay, well, then incarceration. Oh, crap. This region is heavily policed. Oh, crap. I wonder what that means for parents and children. Like, I don't know how they got to this children of incarcerated parents demographic, but here we are. Right. So 12 years later, I'm here with them still, and I'm kind of in the back end. I was hired to be their educational consultant, to help with the educational curriculum. They said, we want to launch our program. Can you help us launch so that we can start working with young people? And I said yes. So the key thing that I said there, which I found myself saying again the other night, in similar conversation about a parent comes in and he asks, what can I teach my child, or what can I do to help foster talent, or inspiration, and good education. The word exposure is the word that I'm using now, and what I use to the board of Village of Promise. If we don't expose young people to what's possible and positive in this world, then of course young people and people in general are going to be only in a mindset or a framework that they've been limited to. So our job as adults and as people is to expose more people to positive thinking. And I'm going to be careful about that. I'm going to put an asterisk on that.
Okay.
Forward thinking, I should say, rather than positive, because the reason why I say that is because there's a tendency to oversimplify using positivity. And I'm learning that term is called toxic positivity.
Ooh.
Yeah, oxymoron, yet it's a thing. And I've experienced it when the whole stop AAPI hate or stop Asian hate hashtag came out, right? And what's interesting is that Clubhouse is this like real-time conversation medium. And I don't think it's social media. I think it's social medium. Like it is continuous. There's no editing in it.
Right.
There's no editing process.
It's like listening to the world when you jump into a room. What's the world thinking about right now?
Right.
Go in here and here you go. I know, it's amazing.
So for me, when I was in a room, and I won't say the room title because I have a lot of respect for the room. Some of the people in there, though, are problematic, in my opinion, because they operate from this: if you just love yourself more, then you would be more happy. I'm like, what does my happiness have to do with the deaths of people in Atlanta right now? No amount of my happiness was going to stop that.
Right.
And that's where my frustration was coming from. And so when people are telling me that I need to either calm myself or kind of like soothe myself and think happy thoughts and not live in fear, I'm like, I'm not scared of dying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm scared that someone's going to take my life because of some bullshit. And I apologize. Am I allowed to be candid here?
Yeah. This is yes. It's fine.
Okay, this is adult time.
Get gritty, man. You're fine.
So, that's why I don't want to say just positivity. I mean, positivity definitely has, I'm definitely in a much more positive place than I was even just last year, right? Or even 2 years ago. Look, I deal with my own insecurities, and like the poem, I deal with my own feelings of isolation and solitude and depression.
Did you say oppression or depression?
Sorry again.
Did you say oppression or depression?
Both, actually. I said depression, but you're absolutely right. If oppression, it feeds into that, right? And this is what I'm saying. It's like we can't even talk about depression because we can't even talk about where it comes from. People think you got to rewire your brain, but we got to fucking rewire society.
Yeah, we've got some false narratives that are taught early. They're taught early, and we carry them around, and we believe them. And this is the whole point of Melon Stories Matters, because it's like I had to reflect. I had to reflect on my own upbringing, and I'm like, damn, I was told things not true, not true,
Right.
you know? So yeah, sorry to interrupt. I just jumped
Yeah, to
in.
give me a chance to sip my coffee.
Yeah.
Um, I I've been learning and getting to know social justice work because in my ninth grade year, there was a program that I had applied for, and it was a supplemental. It was a community program. It had nothing to do with the school that I attended. They just recruited at all the high schools in San Diego Unified at the time, and this is the Aaron Price Fellows Program, right?
Okay.
In honor of Aaron Price, which was the son and grandson of Saul and Robert and Allison Price, right?
Okay.
And I say these names because they were instrumental in providing this program, and the facilitators that were my mentors at that time and currently. Like this to me is a lifelong. I'm thinking about this song, the song that I learned from this camp, but it's a lifetime relationship, and I have who I call my brothers and sisters because of this program. And these are a chosen family type of deal.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I just celebrated my best friend's 40th birthday last Thursday in Long Beach, so I'm still in Orange County right now, even though I live in San Diego. But that's when that summer, as people as freshmen who had just finished their freshman year going into our sophomore year, that summer is orientation camp for the program, and that camp is called Breaking Down the Barriers That Divide Us. That's the title of the camp. So the first thing we did, one of the first things that we do in that camp is really talk about stereotypes and the different affinity groups. So they separated us in our different affinity groups, and then as a pod or as a caucus, we had to kind of discuss what it meant to be Asian, what it meant to be Black, what it meant to be white, what it meant to be Latino, what it meant to be. I don't remember if there were even other categories at the time. Right. And now as an adult facilitator, I've seen how they've actually been more inclusive with some of the titles and added titles. Right. My point being is that it gave us an opportunity at 14, 15 years old to have the adult conversation that our current society is still trying to figure out how to have. And so I've taken that throughout high school, and this was not just the summer camp. This was a 3.5-year journey with this group, and we dug into each other. We got to learn about our differences, our similarities. We got to just honor each other, to me, as brothers and sisters. And that to me was that unconditional, like, I got you. What do you need? And to this day, my sister she continues to check up on me randomly, or she'll see something that I'm like stressed out about online, and she'll be like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I love it. And that's the kind of village that I know I have, and this is why I have to continue to remind myself that I do have a village, and I'm constantly now encouraging people to, one, build a team. If you're doing like some sort of a business venture or some sort of a project, like or even in Clubhouse, people are like, part of the conversation in the debrief last night was that they were saying, there was a woman saying, this is why I didn't get on Clubhouse. Like I got off of Clubhouse because of what is this, right? Like, I don't feel safe in these spaces. And I said, yeah, you gotta find yourself a tribe. You gotta find your tribe, and that way you can pull up in spaces together, or support each other, or have constructive dialogue that you want to have. So from there's just strength in numbers. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's a buddy system. In matter of fact, I'm alluding back to Village of Promise and Aaron Price Fellows. So we modeled Village of Promise after Aaron Price Fellows. So I'm kind of sharing with everybody how I operate, and it's because I was taught through my work and my upbringing, as a youth. And so the thing they said was a rule of 3. So we had opportunities to, in a group, if we're in a field trip or we're at camp, we had opportunities to our free time. I remember one of the scariest things as a kind of coming into adulthood was one of their flagship field trips in Aaron Price Fellows program is the trip to DC, to Washington, DC. And that was in the summer after our junior year. So going into our 12th grade year, we got a trip to DC, and there was free time where they let us roam on our own. I have not, at that point in my life, I've never been out of the city by myself. And that just goes to show you, there's just a wide variety of people's experiences with worldview. That's a key word also that I feel like is super important in our society. Worldview.
Yeah. That you're bigger than something other than your own nose.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the more we can, offer that up. So what they told us is anytime we had that kind of freedom of agency to kind of roam off as teenagers, right? Like, come on, teenagers roaming DC, like that was scary to me. I took the metro for the first time, and I made sure I did not lose. Like, I was like, it was my friend Layla. She was just looking at the map. She knew what the hell she was doing. It was great. I was like, how do you know how to do this? And I made sure I was like, I am not losing sight of you, because if I get stranded, I would not know how to get back to the hotel. And so shout out to my sister Layla.
Good job.
So we had the rule of 3, and that was essentially no less than 3 people. You have to have 3 people in your group. One, because if someone gets hurt, then one person can stay with the person, and the other one can go get help. And so that's what has been ingrained in me, and that's what we continuously push with our kids and young people. If we're in a setting where it's just like, okay, we're going to give you some opportunity to go explore, right? And that's part of putting trust and just saying, hey, look out for each other. That's part of my philosophy now, right? It's ingrained in me. And so when I roam these Clubhouse streets, it's like, okay, rule of 3 in my head, right, in my heart. And now I'm actually, I'm gonna continue to keep that in my forefront. So yeah, we have to be mindful that not everyone's quote unquote safe space applies to what we define. What their safe space may not be my safe space, and that can be okay. We just have to be. It could be okay because okay, it's almost like saying a woman's safe space is not my safe space, because that's not my space, right? And therefore anything that I have may not be there. It may be damaging. Like, I know as a male, some things I say can be triggering in a woman's safe space, and that's all I'm saying, right? Like, and I'm acknowledging that there's no way to be completely inclusive to the point where someone is not going to have grievances to address. And if we do not have the facilitation and mediation skills to hold that kind of space for opposing experiences and stories, then we have no business claiming that we are inclusive and we're holding the space and we're trying to be, productive and forward thinking. So when people are violently removed from the conversation
by being muzzled and removed, in a sense,
exactly.
like, so when you're removed from the stage, it's like you got booted out. It's disrespectful. In your opinion, what could that moderator have done? It would have been like, I don't know, like, so just give us a quick flash of like this speaker that came up on stage was bringing a different perspective, was sounded like they were passionate about it, and got booted off. What do you think would have been a better way to handle it? And were they in your opinion, or is it really this particular moderator really has control issues and may need reporting?
It's both. It's
Okay.
both. I wasn't there for when the two women were quote unquote being disruptive or derailing the conversation, because that was kind of what was presented to me. Oh, they were derailing the conversation, and I was like, I don't understand. Like, what does that even mean? That means there's an agenda here that isn't in line with what they were saying. Like, that to me already is a flag to say, oh, so we're censoring now.
But they weren't coming on and saying racist things. They weren't doing things that would be harmful. They just had a different, okay. Because if someone did that, I could see a boot, right? Like if someone comes on and they start like just flailing out horrible statements like that, that would be different.
Yeah, this woman had a calm voice. She was speaking again. I had a debrief with her and other people after that room. So what I gather is that they were addressing the capitalistic, problematic practices of capitalism, of genocide in certain different parts of the. And again, this goes with worldview now, right?
Right.
When when the question on the floor is how can AAPI and allies, what are your thoughts and ideas about ending racism? Again, this how is there?
Will we ever end it? Can we heal it? Like I get caught on that question too, right? Like
so
end it.
Right. So if you're really trying to end it, then I think there is something to be said about addressing capitalism, right? And how that dynamic doesn't humanize people. It just exploits them as dollar signs. So just in the very nature of capitalism, it's profit over people, right? You lower your expenses to increase your revenue. That's the basis of capitalism here, right? And competition, squash whatever is in your fucking way. If we're being honest, I don't have a problem with community capitalism, right? Like if we're doing this together in order to, if there's friendly, healthy competition, like I'm not trying to say that we need to. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, to be honest. But there is something to be said about addressing that as one of the root causes of racism, and why people are not, So my point being is that I think this woman was speaking on those terms and applying it to, well, this is, we need to tackle some of these deeper issues. And there were some radical views about like people dying and because of these systems that we're talking about. And because people are going to get, so even I guess the word the politics came into play when she was addressing well, there's capitalism, then there's socialism, right?
Yeah.
So that's when it got political. right?
Mhm.
To me, that's economical. It's not. To me, that's economics, not necessarily politics.
I think
And
it's human rights, and
right, they're economic models.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
but they're enforced by political structures.
True.
And that's the conversation that we're not having, right? It's to say
Mm-hmm.
that capitalism is the American way, and how dare you, whatever. But we forget that that's the economic model. The political conversation is powering that economic model, and therefore that's why people think it's politics. But she was addressing the fact that yes, that there were more socialist ways or whatever, and I think the word communist was in her bio, and of course that's triggering, especially even for me learning about my Vietnamese background.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just having a conversation with my dad the other day about the fall of Saigon on
Mm-hmm.
April 30th. And in that conversation, it's, you know, my parents hate communism. You
Yeah.
have to understand why. And
Yeah.
so I'm conflicted when I hear some of my friends are like, they're borderline communists because of the socialism ideal, right? And they claim to be communists because of this the ideal behind it, the ideology behind the philosophy, but I don't know that they understand the political damage that has been done, right? The
Mm-hmm.
political structures that give communism its bad rap and its atrocious like way of being. And
Mm-hmm.
so while I agree that countries who adopt communism as their economic model have super oppressive kind of ways of silencing their citizens, I see the same for capitalism. Let's be real. Let's be
It's
real.
all control. It's all controlling
Corruption
people.
happens no
Yeah.
matter what.
Yeah.
So because that conversation happened in that room happened the way it is, I would have had this conversation. I had to
Mm-hmm.
leave the room because the person who spoke before me was my trigger.
Yeah. That
And
was the
I left.
moderator, right?
So by the time I came back, that whole derailed conversation thing already happened. And I wish I was there. Because as somebody who was given the moderator badge, I would have been like, wait. Let's take a pause,
Mm-hmm.
listen to the message here, not your resistance to, not the voice in your head that's resisting it.
Right. Right. Well, why do I have a feeling that you will have a poem that will be a result of that experience? Because you really do employ your talents to bring out the message. I mean, amazing. Um, I love talking to you. We do have to, like, unfortunately,
Yeah, I get it. I looked at the
we
time.
have to close it up. But you guys, Viet Mai is someone to know and to watch and to follow and go to his poetry slams. Unbelievable the passion that I see in those. Where is your favorite place to have someone follow you? Is it Instagram or Clubhouse? Like-hearted project. Yeah.
Yeah. So Instagram is cool because I'm now exploring. I used to treat all my social media like friends, family, and coworkers, and now I'm
Mm-hmm.
finally, because of Clubhouse, I'm starting to say, okay, I need to use my social media more like a business. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I really can't wait to hire someone to really do that.
To do the social.
Uh,
Okay, so we have a social
yeah,
media quest. Anyone out there that's really good at social media, give
yeah,
give Viet.
um, yeah,
Yeah,
for real. So
it's tough. I
Instagram,
know.
I guess maybe I'll put it in the chat here, and you can share it. Mr.Viet.my. And then, of course, my website, you can find all my socials linked there. So, vietmai.com.
Okay, great, great.
And yeah, any way you want to get a hold of me, just, have grace with me. I'm an introvert. Okay. Let me just be clear. So all the processing of information, I get overwhelmed. And so that's why I don't like social media the way I know I need to do it. I don't have the brain power to do it. Like, stay on and talk a bit.
Yeah.
So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, our deepest pleasure of having you be on the Melanin Stories Matters, what I would call a family. I mean, it's just so wonderful to have your contributions, and thank you for being a part of it. So again, everyone, you can come and see our shows. They're on our YouTube channel. You can also find them on the website. We really feature and focus on our storytellers and their message. So our next show is going to be in August, and the theme is Growing Up BIPOC, which I think is going to be a very interesting way that will get unpacked. I've got lots of people already submitting. So if you're someone that wants to do a story, you can go to melaninstoriesmatter.com, and there's a pitch link, and please do. We're very open. Or if you want to be a part of helping us with our grassroots movement in trying to heal racism, like what is the right word, to create more allyship so that we're celebrating diversity, inclusion, and equity. I said that in the wrong order, but you know what I meant.
There's no order. There's no
Yeah.
order. Sometimes we got to put the equity before the inclusion.
Yeah, but we're all humans, right? And this is our passion, is to celebrate that. So thank you again. We will be back at another time with our podcast, vlogcast. And thank you again, and best to you. I can't wait to see and hear your next slam.
Thank you.
Okay.